health inspections and their license would have to go to the state, pay twice as much, and the borough receives no inspection fee revenue. This borough, we don't have a board of health, therefore our inspector needs some certification from Harrisburg, which we find most qualified food inspectors don't have. Well, we need a health inspector now. I propose council reappoint Brian Razzie to our health inspector. He has agreed to serve while we consider the creation of a health board, which would allow us to consider many more applicants. So I move that council appoint Brian Razzie as health inspector.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes. Ms. Peterson? Yes. Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Ms. Foley? Yes. Mr. McGuigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rafter? Yes. Mrs. French?
Yes. Also, I did explain that we have to place a board of health, and we will find it much easier to fill the health inspector position when it becomes vacant. A quick review of the past minutes shows that this position has been frequently vacant. In your packets was a draft of an ordinance to create a board of health. I move that we send that proposed ordinance to the ordinance committee for consideration at the committee meeting on April 10th. We hold a public hearing on the proposed ordinance on April 17th, just prior to our regular council meeting, and schedule a vote on the proposed ordinance for the 17th, that we advertise that schedule.
I'll second that as well.
And roll call.
Ms. Rafter?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Ms. Foley? Yes. Mr. McGuigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rafter?
Yes.
Mrs. French? Yes.
Lauren, do you want to address the two ordinances that you proposed?
Okay, the first historical commission, we had the public hearing for that last week, so I motion to adopt the historical commission ordinance.
Second. And a roll call, please.
Mrs. Rafter?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Ms. Foley?
Yes.
Mr. McGuigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rafter?
Yes.
Mrs. French?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Again, with the human relations commission, we also had a public hearing on that last week at the committee meeting as well. Also motion to adopt this ordinance.
Second.
Just before we vote on this, I have a question for Mr. Santarelli.
Sir.
The Boys and Girls Clubs in Folcroft, are they going to run into any problem under this? The fact that they have two separate clubs, one that takes in boys, one that takes in girls?
I don't believe so, Mr. Briggs, in any way in other towns, but if it comes up, we'll look into it. That should not be a problem.
Is that a guarantee?
There's no guarantees in this world, but
I need to know some of the president, which one?
as close as I can do.
That's the close you can get. So you're gonna pass an ordinance, not telling me that my club after 52 years in this township is gonna be saved as a boys club, not as an athletic.
I don't really understand.
You're not understanding it.
I don't really understand.
Because you're not understanding it. We have a boys club and a girls club, two
So
different
the
organizations.
borough offers opportunities for both groups,
That's right.
which is fine.
But I don't even want to hear about a merge come 6 months later because of this ordinance passing tonight. It will never happen. I will hire a lawyer. After 4 to 5 years, you guys will be voted out of here and I won't have to worry about it. But as of now, I'm protecting 360 members of the boys club.
That's right.
Is it in order to amend this to exclude the Folcroft Boys and Girls Clubs from this, to be subject to this board?
I think it's unnecessary. And I think
Whether it's unnecessary or not, is it in order, is my question.
You dance around every question.
My legal advice is it's a slippery, you want a slippery slope.
No answer. Slippery slope. Are you kidding me? Slippery slope? You're a slippery slope. Yeah, I'll thank you. You're welcome. Can I ask one question? Like I said, I will hire a lawyer to make sure we are protected. Can you afford one?
Can I ask a question?
No, they can't afford one because they ain't even getting their tax money
I
yet.
know we can. And the girls club got to hire one too if they want to start stepping over some boundaries. Council has no right to enter any kind of ordinance to separate the boys from the girls, okay?
That's right.
It's been this way and it'll continue this way until the day I die.
My vote will always be no for a merger. I ain't going nowhere.
No, I vote for no merger
Guys,
because
I-
my
this is
daughter
my-
won't
this is
even
kinda my
play for
fault.
Folcroft.
This is kind of my fault. I'm not suggesting
The only way to beat them is at the
that
polls.
orange ordinance in any way suggests a merger between boys and girls.
Nobody knows
There-
Guess us. It doesn't open up, but that girl come up there.
Why do you
no
need the
right.
ordinance then?
It's the one up there holding it.
residents in
I don't even want to hear that.
From what?
Like I said, I agree.
So why can't we make an amendment that excludes
So protect us. You can sit up there and do the right thing right now tonight and protect us as a police club and as a girls club organization who ran separately for many years with no problems, not asking for a dime out of Borough.
Right, I'm just saying, it's
So don't forget this.
An amendment.
It says amendment.
Well, then-
There's no need for an amendment, it's not even in here, that there's, it's already protected.
I know you're back.
It's not protected.
There's no guarantee in that amendment.
Even if you put something in there, there's no guarantee, okay? Even if you put
Why?
something in
It's
there,
in writing, it has to be a guarantee.
But you get it, taxes.
there's state law, there are still state laws on this whole issue.
Two
You
guarantees.
never, and
I can
there's no
guarantee
exclusion of the state law like you're looking for in this ordinance. There's no, this ordinance tracks state law. You are as protected under this ordinance as you are today under the state law.
So that means she's puppeting under you because you're answering.
You have a motion, you have a second.
Can I have a roll call, please? Well, we know what that's gonna be.
Yeah. Mr. Bennett.
Can you explain that to me, what is the ordinance?
Mr. McGuigan.
Because I don't know. What is that ordinance, Mayor?
Abstain.
Ms. Rafter.
Abstain.
Mrs. French.
Abstain.
You state for the record what your reasons for abstention are. Let the record reflect then, Madam Secretary, that there are no reasons placed on for 3 abstentions. No reason placed in the record.
Oh, what are you gonna fire them because they didn't answer your question?
I told you.
Can I have a motion to approve the bill
Have a
list?
recall.
Motion.
Second? Second. Can I have a roll call, please? Yes.
Can do it with
I apologize, I can do it here. We're voting on the bill list.
Yes, we're voting on the bill list.
I have a question on the bill list before we vote. We have an engineer's report at the end. We actually didn't have an opportunity to have one so far. And I was just curious to see what the engineer was working on. I see his bill here and I'm sure everything's in order, but I just wanted to see if it's possible if we could have his report before the bill list vote.
Sure, I'm prepared to report that, but.
Mr. Williams? Would you like to give your report?
Thank you, Council. 2 things on my report tonight. First is Grant Avenue Bridge replacement project. That's the bridge over the Buckley River, or Creek. There was a meeting last week with the contractor, who's Buckley and Company. We met with PennDOT to discuss the schedule and the closure of this bridge. We're anticipating work to start on April 12th. It's going to run for approximately a year and a half. So,
They said 9 months. 6 to 9 months, now it's out for a year.
yeah, I had heard 9 months originally also, but according to the schedule, there's a chance it can finish quicker, but nobody's going to, put any guarantees to that. So but that's what they're forecasting right now. I'll be getting an official schedule at some point, but I don't have that tonight. There will be a detour for traffic off of Grand Avenue to Elmwood, to Ashland, and back to Delmar.
What about foot traffic?
Apparently they did a study and there's not a lot of foot traffic in the area. They did notify the residents of the project and we made it this evening. And they're not going to accommodate conversion past the They have to straight all the time, so they're not going to make
about it because you have people that walk over to that train station.
That's why.
Also, amen, to the supermarket from the apartment complex, there is a lot of public
The
traffic
shopping
through
center as
there.
well. That's right. That came up at the meeting, and that was the decision that PennDOT and Delaware County, as well as the funding agency had decided based on their studies. Because they want to close that bridge all at one time and take it out, that's the fastest way to go. If they had to maintain traffic on one lane, it's not dragging the project that much further. So, that's all I had for the Grant Avenue. The other project was,
Excuse me, sir, as the fire chief, there was also talk at the meeting last week about the South Avenue Bridge being closed in that time period. Is that, I mean, you can't cut our town off from mutual aid.
They can't do that, that's a state road. And I'm sure PennDOT is,
Has anybody considered that? You know anything about that bridge being?
I've not heard anything about that, no, I've not.
There is a sign down there, but it's not on. There's a big sign, like they're ready to put it on, and there's nothing going on the first one on Grant.
I can look into that, but I don't know as of right now what that could be. I'll research that and find out some other information.
I just give you a card, so you can, inform me of that.
Eric, I have my report is, past last council meeting, we're looking to get a stop sign, some sort of speed control on Carter Road between the two Turner roads there as a bypass. And I went out there last week and also earlier this week. And currently on Carter Road, there's only stop control at the beginning and end of Carter Road at Taylor Drive. There's no stop signs along that course, which I'm sure residents all know. There's also two 25-mile speed limit signs, one on each side of the road.
No, there's
Right
not.
at the beginning of the road.
There's only one on the one and two on the other.
And
One on each side. No.
so there's also two crossroads that are one-way roads at T and Carter, and then there's also one two-way road at Edwards. So what I would recommend, just right off the bat, is to install a couple more speed limit signs right about the midpoint of the road.
Nobody wants to sit up. It's not gonna
Does it have to be 25 miles an hour on these side streets? Is it
It does not know.
I did 25 years ago at Windsor Circle made, it's 25, it's a circular horseshoe. And I can't do 20 without my tires jerking.
Right. Now that's,
So people come down my street, they were 50.
that can be revised based on we, as well as passing an ordinance, revising an existing ordinance, there's one for that.
Going around that turn with a circle, kids going ahead.
Yes, it's, there's not a great sight line around that turn in the Carter. I don't know if it's the Windsor Circle.
I'd like to have that, I mean, if you post 10, people are still going to be 30, but
It's illegal. Anything anything under 25, 15, you can put 15 miles a zone. You can fight your ticket because 15 miles a zone is only at a school zone. That's it. I already looked into it.
so if you have a stop sign at the bottom of the circle before the turn.
I was asked to look into that, so I'm going to stick with the Carter very quickly. We'll talk later about that. So what I recommend for council to consider is installing 2 additional stop signs at the intersection of Edwards Road, one each direction for now. Let's see if that helps alleviate some of this cross traffic. The Taylor Drive essentially is a horseshoe-shaped road, so folks that are going back there aren't necessarily traveling anywhere except for the road residents. And I imagine folks that are traveling are local to the area.
Can I just get one question? I mean, these people are like.
We live there every day.
They live there, and I believe if you saved your money on your stop signs and your speed limit signs, that nobody's gonna listen to them, and got them retractable speed bumps that
That
are
only cost $38.
I'm sure they would be willing, when it's gonna snow, to move them so somebody can plow, because that's how dedicated they are to that street.
Well, last thing I was asked to look into stop signs for speed control. And generally, stop signs aren't considered very effective from PennDOT anyway for speed control, but in certain circumstances they are warranted.
I mean, it is a one-way street, but a lot of
From
people
day
don't.
one, me and my husband been asking for speed bumps, not stop signs.
I
We've
didn't
been
hear about
asking for
speed
speed
bumps.
bumps.
Last meeting I heard,
We have it on video.
the last meeting I was at.
From the time we started with this, that we've been asking for speed bumps. We never once said stop signs. Speed bumps.
I asked you a question. Actually, do speed bumps,
Of course,
speed
and we're
bumps
right at the
ever,
turn.
is there any evidence that speed
Between
bumps
W and Edwards.
For a while.
are the
2 weeks
answer
to
to
write
a
your
problem
tickets,
like this?
people
Because
slow
my concern would be if we get speed bumps on one street and $138, then every street in Folcroft's going to want them. My question is,
I do it when I'm on W.
are they even effective?
There's mixed thoughts on that. Generally, though, from an engineering standpoint and functionality standpoint, they're not very effective. No. I mean, the retractable ones are probably less effective than permanent.
That's right.
I disagree with that. I definitely disagree with that. I disagree with that.
A speed bump versus a stop sign.
Excuse me, I can't hear this.
Additional stop signs, I recommend, speed limit signs, perhaps enforce, and stop signs.
Can I ask you something? There's speed limit signs up there now. There's only 2 going from Taylor. From Taylor with 7-Eleven, is that Taylor, that side of Taylor, going 2. There's 2. One at the beginning and one right by our house. There's a light pole. That's it, to the end of the other Taylor. Now coming from the Taylor going this way, up, there's one speed limit sign. One. And I was told by a resident that that sign was put up the week prior to the meeting last week. Okay? Now, if they're not slowing down for 25 miles a zone with the speed limit signs up, what makes you think if you put more speed limit signs, they're going to slow down?
Or a stop sign.
Especially when residents are out there with their children. I have a 4-year-old, okay? 4-year-olds are that quick. I'm out there every day with my son and my daughter. My daughter's 11. I don't pay, I pay attention to my daughter, but I allow her in the street because she's 11. My son is that quick, and that quick, if I turn my head, he can jet out in that street, even though I'm out there, and get hit by a car. And you know what? I'm going to tell you and the whole council on there. If my son gets hit by a car because I've been asking for a speed bump, not only am I suing the driver of the car, I'm coming after the borough as well.
You got enough of people that stand
I have a question, Mr. Engineer.
Mr. President, can I say something? Last year, a kid got hit in the car in front of Mrs. Rafter and Mr. Fry's house. If that guy was doing 50 or if that guy was doing 5 miles an hour, that kid was going to get hit by that car because he shot out at the last minute. Now, I come down Carter Road every day, and you know what I see? I see kids playing in the street ball. I see kids darting out, kids riding scooters all the time. What the hell kind of parent lets their kids play in the street that's supposed to be so busy all the time? Would you let your kids play in the street because that's busy?
Well, you know what? When
I
you're
don't
11
think
years
you would.
old, you can't sit there and tell your kids to stay on the sidewalk. Everyone did it. You've done it, and everybody in this room has done it.
I've never let my
So
kids
don't
play
do
in the
it.
street. I've never done it. I never even let them
You
play on
never played in the
street.
street.
I let them shoot
Never
like
played in
that.
the street. Oh.
Maybe the next ordinance ought to be for parents to be parents, be responsible,
And
and
parents
watch
are
your
parents. They
kids.
sit out with their kids and they watch their kids. They yell at these cars when they fly down the street. But all these cars
Your
will do
husband
is
sat
put
here in
their
front of everybody and told me that you should have done these kids come. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Jason, were your questions answered on the bill list?
They were, thank you.
Can I have a motion to?
This is for January, February, usually they were broken down the way the engineer said January, February. This just says services.
I've only submitted one of those.
Both was it for January and it was just January. Thank you.
Can I have a second? Well, we started the roll call. Mr. McWilliams?
Yes.
Ms. Rafter? Yes. Mrs. French? Yes.
Okay, the list stands approved. I don't have anything on President's report. Mr.
the incumbent chief of Folcroft Fire Company number 1. Based on the code's plate word, fire marshal and Folcroft Fire Company number 1 are to be two separate distinct positions held by two separate distinct persons. The code provides the Borough Council is a designated resident of Borough Folcroft to serve a term of 2 calendar years as fire marshal, and that's in section 1-5.2. The ordinance also provides that in addition to the fire marshal, there are 2 assistant fire marshals, and that's in section 1-5.2.3. The code states specifically that the fire marshal shall with consent designate 1 person in addition to the incumbent chief of Folcroft Fire Company number 1 as his authorized assistants to assist in the performance of his duties. These assistant fire marshals shall be residents of the Borough of Folcroft and shall, with the fire marshal, constitute the fire prevention board of the Borough of Folcroft. In construing the terms of an ordinance, you have to look, you start with the fundamental principle that you look to the plain words of the ordinance. That's a legal principle. The letter of the ordinance, you cannot disregard that under the pretext of pursuing the spirit of the ordinance. An ordinance's phrases are construed in according to their common meaning and include usage. If you apply those principles, the plain meaning of the Folcroft Code establishes that the incumbent chief of fire company number 1 is, by the ordinance, an assistant fire marshal by virtue of his position as the incumbent chief. The code's plain language also provides that there is a 3-member fire prevention board consisting of the fire marshal, the incumbent fire chief of number 1, and the assistant fire marshal designated by the fire marshal and consented to by Borough Council. It is evident to me, and is my opinion, that the plain language of the code dictates that the fire marshal and the incumbent fire chief of Folcroft Fire Company number 1 are 2 separate, distinct positions and are to be held by 2 separate, distinct persons. That is my opinion.
I have a question on that.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I keep calling you Mr. Simmons, that's rude, and I apologize, Mr. Simmons. Under this, you say the common meaning of the law, and my question would be, suppose the fire chief didn't want to be the assistant fire marshal. What would happen in that instance? You could certainly turn around and appoint 2 assistants. He's not forced under this ordinance to take that duty, is that correct?
Under the ordinance, he is the assistant fire marshal. If he refuses to perform his duties, and that's an issue we would have to address.
Well, I mean, under this, it just seems like the ordinance is written very plainly, like most of ours are, so that normal citizens can read them and abide by them. This ordinance says here that he would become an assistant fire chief as a chief, assistant fire marshal as chief of the fire company.
Yes.
He can certainly, because he's the fire marshal, turn that position down, and we could, as a council, appoint 2 assistant fire chiefs. This was voted on 6-1, stated by the president that it would have been 7-0, that you understood the motion. It is the will of this council that that man sitting right there is our fire marshal. And we respect your opinion, but it's my opinion that we move forward.
Change the ordinance.
As we can, that's fine.
We can do an amendment, right?
Do whatever you'd like. You can propose an amendment to the ordinance, and that could be voted on in accordance with the proper terms. Sure.
And also,
If that's what you'd like to do.
just so the residents that are here know, there is several boroughs and townships that have a similar situation. Here's the deal.
Township had one for 20 years.
Chichester, Marple.
I'm gonna tell you what, it's great to see all these shirts in here from the firehouse. But guess what, in this country, and especially in Folcroft, these guys will tell you, they're not getting volunteers around the corner to get involved in this. It's a volunteer organization. We don't have anyone else who wants to be fire marshal, incidentally, either. So again,
This is your opinion, right, solicitor?
Well, can I make the motion to make an amendment to the ordinance?
well, but before we make, now hang on 1 minute, before we do that, here's my point. The solicitor gave his opinion on this matter. That doesn't change anything. That man is still a fire marshal. Whether we make an amendment to the ordinance or not, he's still a fire marshal. Until somebody tells me different, 6-1, he's our guy. So again, we appreciate this, but I don't think it changes anything.
And you're acting contrary to the ordinance.
But that's your opinion.
Fine.
Well, then why, for a number of years, Sue's father was the fire marshal and the chief?
This assistant chief. step down.
Bill Matthews was the chief.
Excuse me, your mistake. No, he was chief that morning.
Yes, right, yes, he
I
was.
asked him personally, he said he was assistant chief. Okay, I stand corrected.
Bill Matthews was the chief of the fire marshal.
You're right, Mr. McWilliam. Council has voted 6-1, and if you choose to go against my advice, then that's your choice.
That's
If you choose to go against my advice and against the plain meaning of your ordinance,
in your
then that
interpretation.
is fine. The borough solicitor of Folcroft, when asked, will say that you're acting contrary to this advice. And if something comes up in the future, I will answer that this council is acting contrary to my advice. With that
That's
proviso,
perfectly legal, Mr. Sarah. You're an advisor to this board, to this council.
You accept our advice.
And I've been advised.
You don't set policy, you advise. The 4 people that were voted set the policy. Not you.
given my opinion, you can choose to ignore it.
I think that would be responsible.
Just don't have the volunteers out there, and sometimes one person's not having two jobs.
Man's more than qualified.
Look, she don't even know what she's supposed to write next.
Nobody's making a motion. They're talking about making an amendment.
It's
They're not
already,
making-
we're deciding whether we need to do an amendment to make it that it's not in violation. So.
This man is willing to fight for us if we ever die. And you want to sit there and hold it up?
Excuse me, but you keep interrupting me.
Hold on one second.
Excuse me.
Let them figure it out, and then I appreciate everything, all the support. And I will be there for you guys as much as you guys are there for me. Let them figure it out, and then if they can't figure it out, then I'll let you guys know. But, I mean, if it's a fire, we're all leaving, you guys.
Can one of the council members ask him how the word motion to do an amendment at the committee meetings for the ordinance, or do we need to make a motion today to do an amendment?
Yes,
Do you, do it tonight, or is this something we need to discuss and amend and advertise?
you need to propose the ordinance, and the ordinance needs to be advertised, you need to have a public hearing, and then there needs to be a motion to approve the ordinance.
But in the meantime, yeah.
So now it's 4 months, we don't have a fire marshal, we don't have a health
He is
inspector.
the fire.
I am the fire.
That's voted on.
He's functioning as the assistant fire marshal. If you
I'm functioning as the fire
marshal, then you're doing what you're doing. That's fine. The job is getting done.
So why is it locked out of the computer then?
I have the information, and we'll take care of that. Real quick tomorrow. Well, not everything yet. We're still working on invoicing and pricing, so I make sure the businesses get corrected, as we talked about last week. I was in and I still don't have anything, so. All right, thank you. Thank you for all your support. Thank you very much.
Do I have a motion to change, make an amendment to the ordinance?
No.
Someone has to make a motion.
No, we discussed it.
Okay.
I'm sorry? All right. Discuss it at committee.
Christine, you made another motion for another, to send something to the ordinance committee, correct? I think that would be more just to send this to the ordinance committee and discuss this one as well, and then at the next committee meeting, if we think it's appropriate, then we'll advertise it.
Then
Just
I
to
make a
change.
motion to send this ordinance to the ordinance committee for discussion before the next committee meeting.
What is the motion?
Just to send this, I'm
To
sorry.
send the fire marshal, the ordinance, back to the ordinance committee to be discussed before the committee meeting, April 10th. Thank you.
Second by Michelle. Have a roll call, please.
Yes.
Mrs. Drowsy?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Ms. Foley?
Yes.
Mr. McGuigan?
Yes.
Ms. Rafter?
Yes.
Mrs. French?
Yes.
Just to be clear, the status of the fire marshal in this time when